If we were to ask what our biggest blind spot is in mental health, in our understanding of mental health, what's the biggest thing we get totally wrong? And this is a question we don't seem to ask ourselves. Maybe we know we're on thin ice. But if we were to put this question to ourselves, what would the answer be? What could the answer be? So, what I would suggest is that the biggest thing we get wrong when we're trying to understand mental health is that we get everything totally upside down. We are seeing things through the wrong end of the telescope. We're seeing things as an inversion as they really are. So everything we do doesn't help, but it has the opposite effect of helping, even though it might seem to help at the time. So one way to try to make this more intelligible, because that's a pretty big assertion that all of us, doesn't matter who we might be, from the, someone starting off as a therapist or counselor or a nurse or whoever, to the very top of the golden chain of being, to the real experts and consultants and professors and what have you, right at the top of that, are all of us completely upside down. So that's the suggestion we're making, and it is a fairly major suggestion. That's another reason we don't like it, because it's too major. Little tiny things, yeah, this ain't right or that ain't right. That's one thing, but to say the whole damn thing is rubbish. That's a bit much, isn't it? It threatens an awful lot. It threatens too much. It threatens the very structure of how we do things. Think about things. It, it can't be allowed, in other words. It's too much for us to take on. So, what we could say, in an attempt to make this more intelligible, is that when we talk about mental health, we automatically make the assumption that it is amenable to being controlled by having the right methods and having the right understanding of what's going on, the right models, the right interventions. We are convinced that this is the way to obtain mental health. We have to understand all the mechanisms and principles involved, and then we have to control in the right way. And there's very major problems with this. For a start, if I am led to understand that I can be in control of my own mental health, which I will be told, you can be sure of that, then this skips over a very, very important consideration or question. So if I say I have potential to be in control of my own mental health, get back in control, as folk like to say, um, in a completely inane way, I must point out, because there's nothing more inane than saying that. None of us are in control. We never could be, and the idea is totally, totally ludicrous. We don't even understand what control means. Control means I have a picture of the world and I get the world itself to fit into that. Now, all my pictures are wrong. That's the basic fundamental philosophical point. It's not possible to have a right hypothesis about life, the universe, and everything, or consciousness, or reality, or anything like that. There's no way that you can get a hypothesis or a theory that is right, a belief that is right, an idea. Completely impossible, as the ancient Buddhist philosophers were quite happy to point out. That's a joke. We can't enter into the true nature of phenomena by using thoughts, by using our ideas about what the world is. Thoughts and ideas come out of us and get projected outwards. They are therefore impregnable to reality because there's nothing coming back into us. Theories don't let stuff come into us. It's when we drop our theories and beliefs about the world, then we can learn stuff. As long as we have beliefs and theories, it's guaranteed we'll never ever learn anything. Ever, ever, ever. We can't. We have to get rid of that crap before we can actually hope to learn something. So, if I take it to be the case, as I am advised by all the experts, that I can control, potentially control my own mental health, what that means is I have a picture of what mental health involves. I must have a picture, or I can't control, because control is all about known, specified outcomes. So then the act of control is whereby I obtain these specified outcomes, which are in line with my idea about how things are. But if my idea about how things are is completely and utterly wrong, misleading, then my so-called control is the attempt to get things to accord to a template which is actually inaccurate. And in actual fact, what I'm engaging in is an impossible task, because I'm trying to bend reality to fit my limited view of it. And guess what? I'm not going to be able to, because reality comes first. Reality trumps me. It's like saying we can't get truth to be whatever we want it to be. Of course we can't. If we could do that, it wouldn't be truth. And the fact that the truth is the truth means that we are absolutely incapable of changing it, or reframing it, or spinning it in any way. In other words, truth is not a projection of thought. Truth is what we see when thought steps aside, which it never, never does. So I'm given to understand that I ought to be in control of my own mental health. And so looking at this a slightly different way, what that means is that we've skipped over, or I've skipped over, asking the question, well, who is this me who is in charge of my mental health? Who is this me who is hoping to make habits of behavior, habits of thinking?